So I'm doing a challenge right now for people on their waistline, and it's you can just join if you want. Just go to getmemberaccess.com/21-day waistline challenge. Anyway, I have a lot of people going through the challenge who have documented that they're doing it, and some people have contacted me privately. And I wanted to talk about some of the major mistakes, mainly the major mistake people make with weight loss, with fat loss. And that's the problem. Fat loss and weight loss are two different things. Fat loss means that you're losing your fat. Weight loss means you're losing lean mass, muscle, organ, brain, penis. You're losing good tissue. You don't want to lose weight. You want to lose fat. How do you know? You know because your waist gets smaller as a man. Your waist gets smaller. Fat loss means you may lose some weight on the scale, but actual fat loss that you can feel, that you experience in a narrower waist. And the reason that men are not losing their belly fat, the big reason why you still have a belly, is that you're listening to the so-called gurus out there, what I call the bros. And they're telling you exactly the wrong thing to do. So the wrong thing to do is a low-carb diet where you skip meals, where you count carbs, where you try to avoid starch and sugar. That's the wrong way entirely. And I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to prove it right now, which is more than most people do. Okay, let's do our first one, ketogenic diets and chronic disease. Now, this is a review article. It's not a study. But I just want to point out the things that it says make a lot of sense. Low-carb diets are used, in this case, a lot of times with children who have intractable epilepsy. These children have been on a low-carb diet for many years, so we can study what happens when you're on a low-carb diet for many years. And they found that there's a lot of unfavorable problems with these diets, that it's not a good idea to be on a low-carb diet for a long time, especially a ketogenic diet. Let's look at some of the problems. First of all, the first problem is that you lose pancreas, beta cells, and alpha cells. They die. And that means that you're led towards a diabetes situation. Here's why. A low-carb or ketogenic diet is always high in fat. Has to be. Because if you're not getting your calories from starch, you're getting them from fat. Okay, fat causes the body to not be able to burn sugar. It's called the Randle cycle. The body cannot burn sugar when it's burning fat. So they call this in the study, and it's a commonly used term, glucose intolerance and insulin resistance. In this case, they study mice. They make them essentially on a low-carb, carnivore type of diet. They get a fatty liver, hepatic steatosis, fatty liver. They get glucose intolerance. They get insulin resistance. And their cells producing insulin and the alpha and the beta cells in the pancreas die off. Possibly also the thymus glands in the neck die off, the Leydig cells in the males, the testicles die. All of the most delicate cells die from the exposure to constantly high levels of blood fat, especially the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the fat that's in our diet so much. Another study, ketogenic diets inhibit the production of healthy mitochondria in the cells, and they induce the heart to die. Ketogenic diets, in this case, or deep fasting, they reduce cellular respiration. They reduce the production of energy in the cells. They reduce the number of healthy energy factories or mitochondria the cells produce, and they increase cardiac fibrosis. They increase that. And that could be through the fact that they're always very low in calcium. They cause high parathyroid hormone that causes fibrosis throughout the whole body. Effects of modified Atkins diet on thyroid function. This one shows that if you're on a low-carb diet for a while, that your thyroid function begins to decline. When I was on a low-fat diet for many years, a low-carb diet, that's what I meant to say, low-carb diet for many years, my thyroid function fell down, and now I actually take thyroid because if I don't, my body temperature is really cold. That's a result of being on this low-carb diet for many years and just killing my thyroid function. A ketogenic diet accelerates neurodegeneration in mice, which means their nerves die, brain cells die, with induced mitochondrial DNA toxicity in the forebrain. That doesn't sound good at all. Why would you want to be on a diet like that? They speculate as to why it does that. It increases certain free radicals, superoxide dismutase 2, enzymes and free radicals dealing with enzymes. Regulators of CERT1 and FIS1 appear to downregulate NMDA receptor subunits NR2AB and upregulate gamma aminobutyric acid A, GABA A receptor subunits alpha-1 unexpectedly. I love when I read unexpectedly. The ketogenic diet aggravated basically brain and nerve death and mitochondrial deterioration. And they look at it under an electron microscope, a very powerful microscope, and they find that these cells are just breaking down. The mitochondria they're making are no good. This study thereby questions the dogma that a ketogenic diet is unambiguously beneficial. I get a lot of times people say, you know what, Matt, I tried to lose weight this way with cutting calories and all that. I just was hungry all the time. Then I went on a low-carb diet and I started to lose a lot of weight. I agree, you can lose a lot of weight on a low-carb diet, especially at the beginning. However, it's mostly water weight, and it gets really hard to do because your body starts craving sugar and starch. When I was doing low-carb, I found that I could have a piece of fruit and it wouldn't help feel better. I had to have starch. I had to have well-cooked white rice or white potatoes or bread or something like that in order to feel okay. And that's because I was craving that sort of thing. It wasn't really good for me. My body needed more sugar. Let's look at another one. Long-term ketogenic diet induces metabolic acidosis, anemia, and oxidative stress in healthy Wistar rats. They take healthy rats, put them on a keto diet, a high-fat, low-carb diet. Guess what? They lose weight. Their body sugar goes down. Their ketones go up. When you're producing ketones, this is a stressful state in your body. I don't think there's anything wrong with ketones if you get them through your diet, like if you eat a little bit of coconut oil. But if you're getting ketones that are produced in your body, that's very stressful. And in this case, they find that a keto diet induces metabolic acidosis. It's a type of anemia. Very serious. Very, very serious problems, actually. If that's not enough, ketone body utilization drives tumor growth and metastasis. When you're making ketones, which you are in a low-fat, a low-carb diet. If you're making ketones on a low-carb diet, it doesn't even have to be a keto diet, just lower carbs, then you're actually creating a highly stressful state in the body. This encourages the growth of cancer cells and metastasis. No question about it. There's no question about it. It's extremely stressful state. You don't want to be producing ketones. You don't want to be in that metabolic state. Self-reported keto diet associated with higher levels of heart disease. They took a look at a bunch of people, real people, not mice this time, not rodents, and they find that people on that diet, many of them are more likely to have angina, myocardial infarction, coronary artery disease, ischemic stroke, peripheral artery disease, coronary and carotid revascularization. Very, very serious. They did this over 12 years. And it's a very high rate of people that were in this group getting heart attacks and stroke and all that. Very, very high, okay? Almost 10% versus 4%. That's an enormous increase. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you? Because they tell you to do it. You should do it. Low carb intake correlates with trends of insulin resistance and metabolic. That's what I've been telling you. Insulin resistance, the death of the beta cells and the alpha cells in the pancreas, death of the thymus cells, death of the Leydig cells that produce insulin. I always see men that have low testosterone when they've been on a low-carb diet because the low-carb diet increases cortisol, increases free fatty acids, and those kill these cells that produce testosterone. So, do you really want to do that to yourself? I don't think you do. Anyway, if you're not already, join me. Go to dailymedicaldiscoveries.com and start getting my newsletter and that of the acclaimed incredible physician, Dr. Ari McGill, and start taking part in our newsletter and our videos, our materials. You're going to get a real view with real science that's going to be completely different from what you're told by anybody else. Matt Cook here. Thank you so much.